I thought, oh boy, that's a good deal, you know. So I milled around that store and I looked at the candy bars and I looked at the places that was full of the boxes that was full of cookies that just had cardboard boxes that no boxes of cookies out in front of the counter. And I'd see the soda pop and bottles sitting around here and there, and ice cream in the freezer, and all that. That was so tempting. All that stuff. Because we didn't have pop to drink, and candy bars to eat, and so on. That was only on a special occasion, like Christmas and Easter. And so I said, oh yeah, okay, I'll trade. And that was a good deal with me. So I kept milling around looking for all that good stuff to eat. And it came time for us to go home. And she came over and picked Jerry up. So she was going to keep him, you know, but he was going to go home without him. And I backed out. I decided I'd give up that nice grocery store and all that good stuff. I just had to keep Jerry.
Well, good for you. Jerry made a big difference in this town, I know, over the years.
He was quite a boy. We became, well, we always were best friends, but we'd go roller skating and square dancing, and Jerry and I was just really close buddies. Good brother.
Tell us a little bit about what you think happened as a child. Now, Carol Ann was married how many years before you graduated from high school? What year were you?
Well,
were you married?
I was 12 when Bobby was born, so I was 11, I guess, when we got married.
So she left home and you were still just a kid. And I guess nobody else, Jerry and Jimmy stayed there a while
Jerry and Jimmy
after she got married.
Yeah. Joe Wayne left when I was in 2nd grade, and then she got married, and that's...
You three kids were pretty close, and you said earlier that what those two boys did, you thought you had a chance to tag right in with them?
Well, I went everywhere they went, and well, I even went everywhere Caroline went. When she stayed all night with her girlfriends, I stayed all night too. I was this little...
You were a little pet.
Mom always said I didn't take to spoiling, but I think I was kind of spoiled because I was the baby, and they, I would tell them when they wanted me to work when I was a little kid. I'd say, "Well, I'm too little."
Out in the milk barn, I've heard the tale that you didn't have to milk cows for some reason. You had another job.
Well, I had to hold the cow tails, which was not a pleasant experience. If you've ever been behind a cow when she did her business, that's not a good place.
And you were the princess out there doing that job instead of milking
Well, and I was
the
the princess, period. I mean, a lot of times Jerry fixed me not a halo, but what do you call it? The thing to crown my head. And I dressed in fancy clothes. And, oh yeah, I loved all that stuff.
Did either one of you girls like to work in the kitchen with your mom?
Oh, we both did. Oh yeah.
We considered ourselves good cooks because we tried to match my mom cooked mommy's.
But I also know you were mechanically inclined and were willing to go out and work on tractors and whatever needed to be done out in the field.
Well, she was more of an outside worker, and I was more of an inside worker doing stuff inside.
I was Daddy's right-hand man, I guess you would say. He would take me with him to do baling. We baled, we got a new case baler in 1950, I guess it was. And the first place we went to bail was over here at Lindsay Miller's.
Because you did custom baling, you didn't just do it on your place.
Of course, all of it being new, and I hadn't even driven a tractor before that. I knew how to drive, but I didn't know the gears in the tractor or anything.
We had horses before that.
The tractor was in 3rd gear and fastened onto that baler, and Daddy was on the shuttle side, and Joanne was on the tie side for wire-tied balers. And of course, I put the tractor in gear. We was going down through there pretty good hickory, and Daddy was screaming and yelling, "Stop, stop, stop," you know. Well, I couldn't hear him because of the noise of the tractor. Finally, he jumped off and run up there and caught me, and he shifted it into first gear then.
Oh, you were going too fast?
Oh, you land you, stopping it up. I was
But you were
busy.
looking down the
I was
road.
watching where I was going, not what was going into that baler back there. And I said, it wasn't just me that didn't hear. I'm sure all of Fairgrove heard it. They knew how that baling job was going, I'm sure.
That was a nice clean job in those days, wasn't it? I think Jerry's told me how dirty it was back there on that baler. It was prior to, now balers nowadays are much more different than they were making small bales. And it didn't have a time mechanism. They had to be hand tied by men back there on the back before they were kicked off with the wires around them. And you know, even after that, not very long after that, and during the 50s, they developed those tires. And those tires had been on binders before. They just had to transfer them over to a baler.
Believe it or not, you know, the same mechanism is on the square balers today that was on the
Yeah, it's a good
binders
mechanism.
back then.
Yep. Yep. Were you ever inclined to be mechanically operating with your dad out in the field?
Not then and not now.
Did you ever drive a tractor in the field?
Oh, yeah.
What was your job?
About the same thing as hers. I didn't do the hard work that her and Joanne did.
Mm-hmm.
I had Jimmy and Jerry to do the hard work. But I had to, you know, I remember raking the hay one time, and I don't know, usually Jimmy and Jerry did all of that, and of course I had to drive the tractor for them to do the baling, because it was Jimmy and Jerry and I that did the work after Carol Ann left.
Yeah.
But
After the hired hand left. But she didn't get out of work. She just went to another farm.
and it wasn't unusual at all for us to be picking the hay up after dark, because it would take all day long to bale the hay, and then, you know, we would have to pick it up and put it in the barn then that night. And it was a long, long, hard day.
Now the horses were gone by the time you came
And
around.
we had the tractor, the case
I
tractor.
remember Jerry saw the last team go, Pearl and somebody,
Jim and Pearl.
Jim and Pearl.
Then they had a red horse called Squirrel.
Was that a riding horse? Or-
Well, she was supposed to be half saddle horse,
Mhm.
but she was shaped just like a old Persian.
What do you remember
horse.
about working with horses when you were a kid?
Oh, Lance, before I can even remember, they put me on the upright of a hay wagon,
Mhm.
and it had a board across it you'd stand on, you know. And I drove the team to pick up loose hay, and when they'd get the wagon filled clear up over my head, well, Daddy'd have me raise my arms up, and he'd lift me out, pull me up out of that hay. And I did that, and would lead the old red horse, old Squirrel. I'd lead her out to pull the hay up with the
Oh, yeah.
the fork would come down and hook into the hay, and then you'd lead this horse out, which would take the hay up and down the track. And I was always scared to death that horse was going to step on me. She never did. I don't think she would have if I'd had my feet in the way. Of course, we were barefooted, you know. And I was a little bitty thing, that big old horse, 'cause those horses were big. And all I do is just stand right under the top of her nose, you know, on the top of my head would just meet her nose, and those big old feet probably that big around. But I did it.
And you've lived to tell about
I
it.
lived to tell about it. And the good Lord